This build will allow the player to create and capitalise on a lot of damage openings. It completely makes up for the hammer's lack of defensive options and is an all around strong build no matter what you use it against. If you're new to hammer or want to try it for the first time, this is also a great build for a new player. That being said, let's get into it. So for the weapon, I'm going to go ahead for the purpose of this build of using the Artian hammer. You want to roll it with 3 paralysis pieces and with 3 pieces of attack parts. For the reinforcement bonuses, I believe the true god roll is to get 4 attack, 1 sharpness. One element is fine as it will help early on to get your paralysis procs. However, as the hunt goes on, it will give you diminishing returns as paralysis becomes more and more difficult to achieve the more times you activate it. In my case, the 2 affinity isn't great. It does help, but attack is what you're looking for. It's also debatable if sharpness is needed because with the hammer you won't be hitting too often. For me it's a comfort thing, it does the trick. For decorations on the hammer we run a crit boost 3 just for big damage. Then the 2 other skills we use while on optimal damage is actually very fun. By using charge up and slugger, we'll be stunning the monster more often when we hit its head. As we can see, slugger gives us stun power plus 40%, and charge up means when we hit the monster after we've charged up the hammer, our stun power further increases. These knockouts in tandem with the paralysis gives us a bunch of damage openings, and it's the reason we run this build. Your other option for the hammer is to use the paralysis tree. This is quite literally your only other option. This will still get the job done for the build and the difference will be marginal. So if you fancy using a different aesthetic for your weapon, feel free to pick up this. And this is our armour set. We use 2 pieces of gore in the head and helm, 2 pieces of Arkveld in the chest and waist, and for legs we go with the Dahad Shargreaves. As I'm sure many of you will know by now, the Gormagala set bonus essentially infects us with Frenzy, however when we overcome it, we get a bunch of bonus crit chance. Likewise, the 2 pieces of the Arkveld set gives us that set bonus which gives us extra healing when we attack. Again, comfort if anything, but also these pieces have great decoration slots. And the Jindahan legs also give us agitated 2 for even more attack and affinity while the monster's enraged, which is pretty much half of the hunt. The rest of the skills on the armour themselves aren't too important to go over. We do get a couple useful things such as weakness exploit, constitution and evade window, which is very helpful for dodging with the hammer's charge dodge. More weakness exploit to help us carry up to 5. But all in all, we're using these pieces for the set bonuses and also the decoration slots. And here are the decorations for this build. As you can see, the 2 3 slots are being used for the Challenger Jewel. We can't quite max out Agitator with this combination, but getting up to 4 is still super strong. And the rest of the jewel slots are pretty straightforward. 3 slots of Mighty means we get a 30% affinity bonus while our stamina is kept full. This won't be active throughout all of the hunt, however, during the big damage openings while the monster is either paralysed or knocked out, we'll be standing still doing a bunch of damage and our stamina will be full during those moments. This is where maximum might comes in handy. 3 Sane Jewels brings us up to antivirus level 3. It helps us cure the frenzy faster for more crit chance and gives us a bit of a bonus. I clarify this every time, but the current tooltip says 15%, it's actually 10%. Still a great bonus. And we have one final decoration slot over here, another 2 slots, so I just put Coalescence in for the time being. We get more status effect when we recover from a blight, which helps us proc paralysis a little bit. You can swap this out for a counter strike or things of that nature. But yeah, that's the final build. You can see the skills on the right hand side there, and yes, I will say again, this is not the highest damage speed running set. However, this is a great set for the majority of players. The damage opening this build naturally creates gives you the opportunity to deal a bunch of damage. Using a fully optimized speedrunner set demands you play near perfect, which let's be honest, I won't be doing, and I'm sure many of you won't either. And you'll see the true power of this build right now. Alright, let's test this thing out on a pretty agile and hostile monster, Tempered Ojorikan. As I already discussed, the hammer lacks a lot of defensive options compared to other weapons. We don't particularly have many counters with this weapon other than the one offset attack, which can be quite tricky to land. Other than that, we get an extra dodge whenever we're using our charged attack, but outside of that, we don't really have anything. The way the hammer counteracts and makes up for this fact is by its knockout power, and our particular build not only has incredibly high knockout power, but also the paralysis on top of that. Bear in mind that while we're taking advantage of the damage opening by getting huge hits in, we're also progressing towards the next knockout or paralysis during that time. So it truly is a win-win. If you knock out the monster, you get a huge opening to do big damage, and while you're doing it, you're building up to your next paralysis to do the same thing all over again. There was a really good streak during this hunt where the monster was pretty much just on its ass the whole time. Because when you combine all of these factors in with the fact that you can pop the focus strikes for an extra knockdown every now and then, the monster is quite often just perma CC'd. So you'll see me taking advantage of the wounds whenever I see kind of possible. I will say the hammer is quite bad at proccing these, it has a surprisingly short range to do it, but when you land them, it's big. Our build in particular does also benefit from the charge up skill, so charging attacks and landing them on its head is what we want to be doing for the most part, but quite often you can just weave more damage and get towards the paralysis or knockout much faster by using the standard combo. On that note, I don't have too much else to go over gameplay wise. I think it speaks for itself. But I will say, out of all of the Artian weapons, I think the hammer got the best one. I don't know, the whole jet booster thing where you're swinging it at max upgrade is really cool. Let me know any other ways you feel of benefiting this build. You could opt in to use things like critical status as I have in the past, but I think for the amount of hits you get with the hammer, it might not particularly be worth, when instead you can opt in for more knockout power or damage. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm aware the gameplay will be a bit scuffed at times as well. I don't have too many hunts under my belt in Wilds with hammer. I was okay with it in World, but Wilds took a bit of a hit. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with the gameplay to watch the rest at your own discretion. If you learned something new in this build, I'd greatly appreciate you to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.